Hey everyone, welcome to another G News update on Sunday, the 6th or the 7th, who knows, of December. Who cares anymore? It's about the 7th of December. Anyway, here we are down at Palm Beach on Waiheke Island, and there's a big crowd here, lots of people swimming, going out in the water and braving the ocean for the first time probably in the year. It's a beautiful day. Anyway, there's plenty to talk about. One of the first things I think I want to talk about is Television New Zealand's Q&A and its program this morning. First of all, let's just talk about the way in which Jack Tame talked to us all about how Q&A had actually been trying to get an interview with the Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, for most of the year, and had been given these assurances from the Prime Minister's office back in March 2025. Now it's December, so a lot of time has gone by. There's probably been a hell of a lot of communication, just trying to get the Prime Minister actually to front up, talk to the public, be straight up, be an honest Kiwi guy, you know, someone that everyone can trust and connect to. But for some reason or another, the Prime Minister just hasn't been able to front up and appear on Q&A. And it's just left the public sort of feeling that perhaps the Prime Minister is not being accountable for what's really going on, and maybe evading scrutiny, maybe avoiding accountability. Perhaps there's some kind of level of cowardice involved. Perhaps he's not really a very courageous person that actually leads, but more of a follower, someone that's trying to avoid things, or maybe, who knows, maybe he's waiting for a better time. But one of the key points that was raised that I'm pretty sure would have been an issue for Christopher Luxon to talk to was concerning recent comments from his government about climate change and emissions reduction. This morning, there's a very, very good article in Newsroom written by Mark Dolder, which kind of details the fact that the Prime Minister is running a government at the moment who have publicly said that they're actually going to rely entirely upon domestic emissions reductions to meet their 2030 Paris Agreement, NDC commitments, etc., that they're going to basically bring down the emissions by 2030, just without spending any money at all. Nicola Willis has come out and said there's absolutely no way that we're going to be sending billions of dollars offshore. And we've actually also heard the Prime Minister say the same thing. So it's all going to be about emissions reduction. However, Mark Dolder points out that when it comes to emissions reduction, just about everything that the Labor government had planned and was doing has been scrapped by this government. Christopher Luxon's government has actually basically done sod all. And really, the rate at which we would actually have to reduce emissions here, if we were just going to do everything by reducing emissions, would be equivalent to kind of like a GFC, you know, a level of inactivity, us having 5 of those in a row every single year. We'd have to bring down emissions by 12%. Now, that's actually way, way more than New Zealand could stomach politically, or without there being a huge amount of disruption. So it's actually not feasible for the government to claim that it's going to actually be committed to its Paris agreements for New Zealand, and also the 2030 goal. We're just not going to meet it. It's just not feasible unless we do some kind of offsetting offshore. Now, it turns out Simon Watts had actually been over in Southeast Asia and had set up some agreements, you know, with places like Singapore and the Philippines, Malaysia, to do this kind of purchasing of offshore carbon credits. And he was at odds entirely by doing that with Nicola Willis. So the government's kind of contradicting itself and not actually being straight up. And I think it's this kind of thing, you know, when you look at the Jack Tame interview, Jack would have probably drilled into all of this and laid bare that Luxon and Willis are at odds, that really it's actually untrue, and a bold-faced lie for the Prime Minister to say the National Party that I lead and the government are committed to our 2030 climate target, because they're not. They're not going to make it. They're committed to not achieving it. They're actually committed to breaching the Paris Accord. And I'm pretty sure Jack would have kind of forced a confession there, or at least a denial of the lie. And you can sort of see that a very, very, very dishonest and evasive Prime Minister would probably run like hell and not want to actually face that kind of public scrutiny about about the reality of what every National Party person is voting for. You know, this kind of boil up of the planet by delay and all this kind of lying, you know, governments that lie back to you and you just keep voting for them because you've always voted for them, the people that aren't going to meet those agreements. So, yeah, it's a fail, a huge fail. And you can see why Luxon probably ran a mile, you know, just didn't want to be anywhere near facing up to the public this side of Christmas, and maybe not into the middle of next year would he actually ever appear on Q&A. So yes, I think that's probably the first context. Then there's the economy. I mean, it's been a hell of a year for blaming and excuses. Endlessly, we've just heard the same kind of rhetoric about we inherited a mess. We inherited a mess, 2 years ago. We haven't fixed anything. We promised to fix it, but we inherited a mess. So we want to blame Labor for everything. We want to blame them for our decisions to rate cap and to cancel Three Waters. We want to blame them for cancelling the way we measure wealth and wealth taxpayers. We want to blame them for our decisions to can the RMA that had actually already been put in place when they first came into power. They want to blame Labor for the way they crashed construction. And I guess you've got Tova out there blaming Labor for actually wanting to know what number table is being referenced by the finance minister, as she denies that what the accounts actually just showed, and says, oh, there's all this spending in the future, so just look over there and not look at actually what we've done in the last 2 years. So you've got all that. Now, the rest of the program on Q&A today was pretty much dedicated to Andrew Costa telling his side of the story, admitting where he was wrong, how he got a judgment wrong, why he got that judgment wrong, how he actually has a clean conscience about it, and also what were the basic things that were in the report that may have actually escaped us, you know, that there was actually no collusion, there was no corruption, there was no intention to undermine the integrity of the police at work by anybody, really, here, other than perhaps the person that has deceived everybody that trusted them. So I think Andrew Costa did a pretty good job this morning of kind of like relaying, you know, how he's actually faced up to accountability. He's lost a lot. You know, he's lost this job he wanted to do in social investment, where he believes he could have contributed to helping this country quite a bit, particularly for the people that are, you know, not making it. And so, you know, he regrets all that, and he regrets getting that wrong. But he did point out that, you know, at the time there was this legal kind of decision that everyone had made that sort of suggested that here was this guy, Mick Skimmings, who was, who needed to actually have justice in the way that if he was going to go for the top job, that things weren't delayed or unnecessarily pushed apart so that he missed that as well. So at the time, I think Costa was uninformed. He should have been better informed. He takes that on the chin. He accepts accountability that he got it wrong, that he trusted somebody that he shouldn't have trusted. But at the same time, the big revelation was that he said that there were some informal briefings, didn't he? And he included an informal briefing in a car trip in the South Island with Chris Hipkins, I believe. And he also said there was an informal briefing with Mark Mitchell, an informal briefing with Heather Baggett at the Public Services Commission, and with a judge. And these were along the lines of Mick Skimming has actually had an affair with a much younger woman, and that was actually said, and he can't prove that these things were said, but they were basically what he recalled. And Chris Hipkins responded that he didn't recall that, which is far more honest and full of integrity to saying that it didn't happen at all. It's just that he didn't recall it ever happening. And but Mark Mitchell didn't have that kind of integrity. He's like, this never happened. And, you know, we heard Mitchell making statements, you know, and then having to walk them back. So not a lot of people believe anything that Mark Mitchell has to say, because we've kind of heard Mark Mitchell make suggestions and imply things that aren't true, and be very, very political here. When you actually listen to Costa, he's actually got nothing to lose at this stage, and is probably just being fulsome and, to the best of his knowledge. But as some people have said, perhaps he should have been more formal. Maybe he should have recorded these things so he could prove these things. And, you know, the public are left sort of to decide, well, what do you believe in all of this? And I think overall, if you step back from it, Costa's just a guy that got it wrong, basically. Probably a good guy, a guy that actually went in there and said, we've got to make a big effort to kind of like do the right thing by Mr. McSkiving, when he was wrong about that and didn't know things that later he found out about. And so, I think, the intentions were good. And I think for those reasons, Andrew Costa sleeps easy, having lost quite a lot there and admitting he's wrong, which is about all you can really ask of somebody. I think the big glaring hole here is you have to decide whether at any stage Mark Mitchell read any of those emails when they came to his inbox, and how the staff didn't actually have any way of preventing Mitchell from reading those emails, even though they may have directed some of them. That was just on a footnote that was only written retrospectively about 2 weeks ago. So the only evidence of that looks like it's been inserted there to kind of like give some sort of appearance of tangible evidence attached to a longer history of sort of more verbal, informal communications. So, it doesn't look good there around Mark Mitchell and the emails and his claim that he never saw anything. And, while his sister is even handling these emails and writing at the local election office, not just his office. So the processes aren't there to back up Mitchell. And I think everyone in the public can see that. So those are kind of the two big issues, I think, that are, hitting the public this morning. It's all about trust in the National Party, really, when it comes down to it. You've got Luxon avoiding Q&A. You've got Mitchell denying things and walking back things on a constant basis as the story changes, and this implausible scenario around these emails. So finally, I think the only other thing to talk about this morning is Haterbots and the way that Jacinda appeared on the Graham Norton show, which was a big celebration of her success and popularity around the Western world, and how it's only really at home that a small group of people continue on with sort of pretty irrational, uninformed hatred, I think you would call it, and how on G News at the moment there's a safe space where you can actually be yourself and say that you do like things like empathy and kindness and strength and courage, and that's okay without being attacked by some angry man, or angry woman, so be it. So, I guess that flood the zone thing with, the foreign interference, on social media has had its day, and I think we've woken up to that, so we're not going to do that anymore. Anyway, that's probably all I really wanted to cover this morning. It's going to be an interesting week as Parliament returns this week. We're going to hear some scrutiny of Christopher Luxon. We're going to see the National Party try to ram through their terrible, rushed anti-democracy fast-track consenting for allegedly for supermarkets, but really it's just a corporate takeover. So that's really, really bad for everybody's local voice, just like the whole rates cap and RMA gutting and regional council gutting, without any kind of mandate, just the takeover from Bishop and taking over local voice and local democracy as these people with their ideologies just try and take over our way of life and do everything from central control, where someone like the Atlas Network can then get control over, developments in your backyard, what your community can and can't do. So it all unfolds this way, just kind of rolling over the top of democracy. So that's really all I had to say this morning. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll talk to you all again soon.
Welcome to G News, the good news.